This is a particular version of the 33 that caught my eye when I was looking to add one to my collection. The livery is incredibly eye-catching. Hello there to you, it's really great to see you. I hope I find you well. And today we've got another review for you, and this is something a bit different. We haven't done a Heljan model for a little while, but I haven't been neglecting Heljan in building up the fleet up here on Weir Yard. Now, you've probably seen the Class 33 going around on some of the Monday clubs, and I have had this for a couple of months now, but I've finally got around to doing a full review of this. Yes, it's the Class 33. Now, this came from the Gauge Master collection, which is a little bit unusual in that it appears to be using a previous version of the Heljan tooling. But I thought I'd put it under the spotlight and see what I really thought about this up close and personal. So if this is a locomotive that you're interested in getting, and actually they are available at quite a favourable price, and we've got some affiliate links down below to help you out if you want to go and find yourself one of these really quite eye-catching models. We're also going to be doing a full DCC fitting guide for you just to help you out on how to do that. So stay tuned for that towards the end of the video, along with today's channel sponsor, which is Train-O-Matic, makers of DCC decoders that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. But come with me, I'm really excited to show you this model. So here is the model from the Gauge Master collection. It's the Heljan Class 33. And I'm going to show you the catalogue number there, GM4240101. And as you can see, Class 33 008 Eastleigh, BR green, full yellow ends, lightly weathered. Now, this is a particular version of the 33 that caught my eye when I was looking to add one to my collection. And I settled upon this because actually it was available at a really favourable price, brand new. But as you'll see when I get it out of the packaging, the livery is incredibly eye-catching. So I'm just going to slide this on out. There is a lot of packaging because it's kind of a box within a box within a box. So I'm just going to take that out. And we've got a little bit of information here. I'm just going to show you the Class 33, nicknamed Crompton, by the Birmingham Railway and Carriage Works, that's BRCW, and it gives you a little bit of information about the model itself, including how to DCC fit it, and we're going to be doing a full guide on that later on, along with the channel sponsor Train-O-Matic. We've also got a full listing of all the pieces that go into here if you should need to order any spare parts. And then on the other side, we've got a little bit of information about the model, and they're pretty famous. You can go and have a look on Wikipedia. So I'm not really going to go into that, but I just thought I'd show you that there is a full detail of the history in a potted form there for those who are interested in that. Now, the model itself, I have seen when I've looked online a number of people saying that this is the previous version, the previous tooling of the Heljan Class 33, and I have to say that to me it looks all right. So I'm not really a Class 33 aficionado, it has to be said. I just felt that I really wanted one for my layout, and that's the position that I guess a lot of people find themselves in. I'm just going to show you here, just going to carefully put that down. We do have some extras in the package, so we've got snow plows for front and back, and a number of other bits and pieces for the user to fit should they so wish. I'm actually going to leave them be. I'm not really a huge fan of fitting a lot of this stuff because the reason it doesn't come fitted from the factory is generally because it interferes with things like couplings. So here is the model, and as you can see instantly What really brings this locomotive alive is the weathering. And now it says on the box lightly weathered, but I'm really pleased with this weathering. It's the thing that strikes you immediately. It was a celebrity livery that this locomotive carried, which is why it's in BR green, but with the tops number and the double arrow. And I guess this was a little bit of a depot pet. In the Gauge Master collection, there was also, I think it was Sultan as well, in a rail blue livery, and I decided to plump for this because I'm a real sucker for BR green locos with tops numbers on. But that light weathering really does bring it alive. It's not just a blowover with an airbrush. You can see that actually a lot of thought has gone into how that dirt would accumulate on a locomotive. So you can see we've got that sooty deposit around the exhaust vents, but kind of characteristic of the directions that the locomotive would run and how that exhaust would play over the roof. We've also got a bit of dirt over the fan there, which is quite clearly like dirt that you get around any fans that accumulates over time. And I just really love that attention to detail. When we look at the weathering as well, on the actual body sides, this whole chassis is really brought to life with this kind of matte finish brake dust type colour. It really is a great colour. When you look at that, it is highlighted all of the detail so nicely on there. I really am impressed by that. It's a colour that actually more models should just be produced in because it really does bring that detail alive. You can see as well that that brake dust has only just touched the bottom of the body side. So as it says, lightly weathered. This is a locomotive that has been in traffic but isn't unkempt. You know, this is just what it would get over a day or two's steady use out on the main line. And I really like it. It is a very thoughtful weathering effect. The rest of the locomotive, well, there's a great weight to this, and actually these things would pull down houses if you'd let them in model form. They really do perform well. In fact, of the Bobo type diesel locomotives, I think the Heljan models always come top of the tree when it comes to pulling power. There's a lot of weight in the chassis in there, and with all-wheel drive, all-wheel pickup, you're really going to struggle to stop one of these. They really do have some amazing haulage power. The glazing on this model is flush and actually really nicely done. You look inside, there is a representation of the cab, but what I will warn you is that there's no depth to it. If you put a driver figure in there, you're going to have to give him some quite intense surgery to make him fit, because everything from probably mid-waist up, there's just is all that you've got space for in there. The rest of the glazing on this is flush and nicely done, and I particularly like these frost grills. Now that really does look the part with that suggestion of the structure inside there. There's a real sense of depth, and I do really like that. The rest of the body side detail, well, there's not a huge amount of detail, but that's just what the real locomotives were like. We've got the roof grills here, nicely done, and again, that finish with the paint works ever so well. The actual lettering, we've got 33008, and the tops panel there, really quite nice and crisp, and I do love this shade of green. The actual nameplate is stamped on, but it's got that metallic effect like cast aluminium, and I have to say I'm really pleased with that. It does look the part. I feel no need to actually replace that with an etched nameplate. For me, it just doesn't need it. Actually, I didn't find one in the box, and to be honest, I'm not really bothered about that. We've got metal handrails as well. The doors don't open, but that's a bit gimmicky if they do, so I'm not at all unhappy with that. They've captured the front face of the locomotive exceptionally well, and it just really does look to me like a Class 33. Now I know that there are people who will say, but it's the previous tooling, there are flaws with it. Well, for me, those flaws are not breaking the deal, and at the price that this was available at around £100, I am not disappointed. Where this model for me really does come alive is below the sole bar with all of this detail, helped by that blowover with that kind of very matte weathered brake dust colour. It really does bring this chassis alive. Just all of the spring detail, everything that's on there is really nicely done. Now, I used to have a Class 33 in my collection, and I did sell it on, and I do remember that the bogies on that didn't look right, but this model does have some degree of improvement on those bogies, and I actually am really pleased to see that. For me, it does look good. The couplings are in them pockets, but they're on a weird sprung design, and if these break, and believe me, I have had some break on other models, then you are at a struggle to do any repair work on that, so a little bit of a detraction for me. One of the other areas which always bothers me with Heljan locomotives is they come ready fitted with the Instanta couplings. These are perfectly usable, but when you've got the 3-link couplings, they become an annoyance and can actually, if they get tangled up and push the coupling to one side, cause no end of derailments. And I do feel that maybe having the Instanta part of that as a separately user-fitted item might work better. Leave the hook in the buffer beam by all means, but the rest of it, just for me, causes more trouble than it solves by being there. The rest of the buffer beam detail is on there, and it is really, really nicely done. So no complaints about the rest of it. The buffers are sprung, and it's got the right amount of spring for me. I also like in the cab, you can see that the window on one side is modelled in the half down position, and it's just little touches like that that really work for me. The roof's white finish is brought alive by that weathering. White doesn't remain white for very long, and I think that this is one of the best factory weathering effects that I've seen. Although the Class 27 from the Heljan stable as well, I was very impressed by the weathering on that. Running characteristics, as I said before, this really could pull a house down. It is so strong and so reliable. With that all-wheel drive, all-wheel pickup, it just doesn't stop running, and I don't really feel any need to have to fit anything like a stay alive in these, because quite frankly, it just doesn't need it. Now I'm going to do a DCC fitting guide, so we're going to be doing this in association with Trainomatic, and we're going to be using one of their standard 8-pin decoders. So what you need is the trusty jeweler's screwdriver set. Never leave home without it. But on this model it's a little bit different. If you're looking for screws, forget it, they aren't there. What you actually have to do, and it does help if you have slightly longer nails, is to just get underneath the body sides, and this is a pretty common feature, just very carefully, and you don't want to scratch that exquisite weathering, it has to be said, so do take care. It can be a little bit tricky on some Heljan models, but this is just the way that they do it. Once you get your nails in, you can kind of feel the body sides pull apart. Now keep it low over a piece of wood or the floor, because when it drops, it drops. There, like that. If you're stood over a concrete floor or something like that, then you run the risk of smashing this on the floor. You really don't want to do that. Now I've had this running on my layout for a while, so the DCC decoder is already fitted. I'm just going to take this out, and it's exactly the same as if you were taking out the blanking plug. Rock it very carefully, work it out, and then what you can see there is there's no markings on this for where pin 1 is. So I've already found it out. Pin 1 is that top corner just up there. So lining up pin 1 on the Trainomatic 8-pin decoder with that pinhole, make sure all the pins are in the right place. Gentle, firm pressure, push it all the way home. It's not a big issue because it does go in. If you feel massive resistance, it's because you haven't lined the pins up, so don't force it. The chip itself, just fit it in somewhere in the locomotive, and these decoders come ready heat shrinked, so there's no chance of that shorting out on anything. So there you have it, as simple as that. There is some space left inside this locomotive which will allow you to fit something like sound if you want to go that route. If you really want a stay alive, there is space in there for that. But I've not chosen either of those, and I'm quite happy with the performance of the decoder on its own. Because there's no screws holding the top on, you don't have to worry about a screw chewing through any of these cables. It's just simply a case of fitting the lid back over and then ease the sides apart, and you'll feel the chassis drop and clip into place, and then it's firmly on. And that's all you need to do. That brings us to the scores, and first up is finish, and I really love this weathered finish. The rest of the model too is really nicely done. Everything's where it should be. It's sharp, it's crisp, it's clear, but the weathering really does bring this model alive and gives it that extra level that really it sells the model to me. So I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. Functionality, this locomotive just performs. The chassis, the motor, the drivetrain, the pickups, everything is faultless. I really can't fault it. It's got great traction weight. I just couldn't stop it. It will pull perfectly long trains. The only detraction is those instanter couplings tend to interfere with the slimline tension lock couplings there, and that can cause derailments if you're not careful with making sure that the instanter fits inside the loop of the tension lock coupling before you couple a train up. So I'm going to give this a 9.9 for that. Ease of use, as you've just seen, it's one of the easier DCC fittings on this locomotive. Quite simply, once you get the body sides apart, it just drops out, does the chassis, and then it's a very easy fit, plenty of space, no messing about, room in there for sound as well. The lack of screws, for some people might not like that, but actually I found that it made it a little bit less intense for getting the top back on, because there's no worry about accidentally chewing some of those cables with the screw going through. And believe me, I've had that happen with other locomotives and it can be quite a nuisance, so none of that with this. You don't need massively long nails. As you can see, mine aren't hugely long, but just enough to be able to grip underneath the body side. Just make sure you don't scrape your nail up the body side by accident, because you could mark through some of the weathering and it will show. But it's not a great risk, so I'm going to give this another 9.9 out of 10. When it comes to aesthetics, I've been led to believe that this is not the most current up-to-date tooling from Heljan, but it's certainly not the first that this model was released as when I had a Class 33 a number of years ago before I sold it on. So it is much improved. To me, it looks like a Class 33. It's what I'm expecting. I don't have any qualms with this, but I just want to bring to your attention that if prototypical accuracy is incredibly important to you, and even the most minor detail matters a great deal, there is a more up-to-date version of the Class 33 on the market from Heljan. That said, I have no qualms with buying this. To me, it looks like a 33. It's better than the 33, which in all honesty I was quite happy with on my layout, so I'm more than happy to add this to my collection, and I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. With value for money, I was able to pick up this locomotive for £104, and if you shop around, it's something that Heljan do really well. They work in partnership with various retailers to commission models, to do particular liveries, and also complete models. But then they also do a deal where they then sell on those models. And as you saw with this, it comes in a Gauge Master Collection outer, but I actually bought it from Rails of Sheffield. So I think it's a great way to get the best of both worlds, and I really like the fact that Heljan and the retailers that commission from them are open to going down this route, because I think it does make some really great models available from a much wider range of sources. So I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. That all adds up to give us a very, very healthy final score of 46.8 out of 50. Would I buy more of these models? Actually, yes, I would. I think they offer a great value for money in this day and age where we're already seeing locomotives past the £200 mark, and they are bulletproof reliable. And with liveries such as this in the eye-catching green with this light weathering, and I love this weathering, Heljan really have taken the gold star for weathering with what they've done for this model and actually some of the others that I've seen in their range. I do think that this is a model which I would really look forward to adding more examples to my collection in the future. Don't forget that if you like what you've seen in this, we've got a link down below which actually goes to Rails of Sheffield, and that gives you a quick link to all of the different versions of the Heljan Class 33 which are currently available in a number of different liveries, ranging from BR Green through some of the celebrity liveries such as the one that you've seen in the video today, but also BR Blue, Weathered Blue, and of course don't forget that Rails of Sheffield also have their specially commissioned 2-pack set in DRS livery as well. I hope you really enjoyed that. Don't forget as well you can check out the affiliate links down in the description box that will take you to where you can pick up your own version of this particularly eye-catching model, or indeed some of the others in some of the other liveries that they are available in. Also, don't forget to tickle that like button, share the video, that's really important, build the love for the channel, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Tickle that bell and you'll be the first to know about new videos as and when they go up. But until next time, take great care of yourself, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye for now. Today's video is sponsored by Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders designed to be fully compatible with every manufacturer's locomotive. Visit train-o-matic.com to browse the full range and see what they've got suitable for you. I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Michael Churchwood, Anthony Hunt, William Wade, Wayne Johns, Offshore Allen, oorail.co.uk, Tepic, Michael Lockie, Helen Sink, Peter Bolton, Brian Smith, Brian and Dorothy Mudd, Gary Lewis, David Quinn, Trish Bits, Sparky 107107, George Botterini, Andy Finch, Chris Moss, Robert Sears, MD of San Juan Model Company and Grant Line Products, and Judge Mortis. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.